Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of Sage Talking Business. Today is going to be a hell of a day. A lot of stuff going on. First, I want to pick up on a story that I mentioned last week with regard to the Nigerian debt situation. They were recently scheduled to reissue or redesign and relaunch their Naira. However, the Supreme Court stepped in and suspend the Friday's deadline for the cash swap, I should say, that they were getting ready to do. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can bring that story up briefly. We can talk about it. There's a short video, 3-minute video that I want to bring up as well. Let's see here. Okay, let's see. Let me know if you guys can see the story fine. Make sure I can bring it up on the screen. Okay, perfect. Okay, Nigeria Supreme Court suspends Friday's deadline for cash swap. This is really a big story simply because, as I mentioned before, Nigeria is having some real debt issues with their bonds. And many people, at least talking heads that are in the know, major analysts and on the street, they're looking at potentially that Nigeria could default. And if it does so, the country could go through a situation similar to what happened in was that Sri Lanka not too long ago, Pakistan, when they're still going through their restructuring with their country basically going bankrupt and need to find a form of refunding to bring the country back online. So it says here, Nigerian Supreme Court has prevented the government from enforcing a Friday's deadline for citizens to swap old banknotes for new banknotes as the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, flagged disruptions to the trade payments. It says here, Governor Goodwin, Emefiele's Central Bank of Nigeria, is carrying out a swap of old banknotes for new ones as it seeks to reduce the amount of cash in circulation and combat double-digit inflation. Inflation obviously is having a big effect around the world. Seem like in terms of the U.S., our current Treasury Secretary, when he really went in and our Fed Secretary, I should say, Fed Chairman, when he raised interest rates, I think for the past 3 months before the end of the year at 75 basis points, that has seemed as though it put a stall on the inflation situation with the U.S. There's obviously a big job market in terms of employers looking for employees, and the amount of jobs that came online for, I believe it was January, was very strong. So they only raised rates 25 basis points. Hopefully we can have a soft landing as it pertains to the inflation issue in the United States. But around the world, because of the CV that took the world basically offline from production for the past 2.5, almost 3 years, there's been a negative ripple effect worldwide. The good thing is that obviously China has opened back up, and that looked like it's going to be a good thing, right? It says here, Nigeria were due to turn in all 1,500 and 200 Naira banknotes worth 2.7 or 2.17, 1.09, and what's that? 0.43 cents of a dollar. So The 1,000 note is worth $2.17. The 500 Naira note is worth $1.09. And the 200 Naira banknote is worth 43 cents. That's the current value on the exchange. In exchange for the newly designed notes by Friday, as part of the central bank's initiative to curb cash in circulation and control double-digit inflation. Obviously, they were going to probably produce notes of greater face amount to reduce the number of smaller, possibly eliminate the 200 Naira. We'll see. I didn't read the article beforehand, so we'll go through it together. So the plan was to cause the plan has caused controversy with people saying there are not yet enough new notes available, leading to chaotic scenes at banks and acute cash shortages. The problem with cash shortages, India did something like this probably about 3 years ago, right around 2018 or 2019, right before the pandemic started. And they ran into a very similar situation as well, where there was a run on the banks. Chaos was out in the streets. People were having a difficult time getting money from ATMs and so forth. So this is a potential situation that could materialize if they were to go ahead and release those new notes. So I guess the Supreme Court is trying to control the situation as regard to the rollout. Some politicians have criticized the deadline being set before the February 25th election for a new president and lawmakers because campaigns are funded by mostly hard-to-trace cash. Supreme Court Judge John Inyan Akuro said Wednesday, that's today, today, our time, decisions to suspend the deadline was unanimous, pending the legal challenge from 3 states who had urged that the notes swap plan was causing hardship before the election. And that's usually a situation, this is more of a political move. And most often you will see that presidents who are in-house will try to make political moves such as these to offset a potential change in the country's rulership. In the event that there is a change in the rulership, his plan will be the plan of the country. So let me go ahead and see if I can show this video real quick.
Residents of Lagos wait for...
Bear with me a second, guys. Okay, let me know if you guys can hear it fine. I'll bring the volume up all the way. Okay.
Petrol stations and outside banks, residents of Lagos wait for hours to get cash or fuel, but neither are guaranteed. Ahead of the elections, Nigeria's economy is facing 2 major crises. The first, a cash shortage sparked by the replacement of paper notes with newly redesigned ones as the nation hopes to curb money laundering. In spite of a January 31st deadline, banks don't have enough new currency to swap for the old notes which residents are handing in. A crisis which has left people cashless and has forced businesses to close.
The ATMs are not working. Even when you walk into the bank, they will tell you they are not giving that money, that they don't have the cash, the new notes. So it seems as if this is the only bank that is dispensing money.
The deadline for handing in old notes has been pushed back to February 10th. Petrol shortages are also plaguing the country. Nigeria is Africa's biggest crude producer, yet relies on oil imports to meet local demand due to refineries operating below their capacity. Outside this petrol station, frustrated drivers get into a fight as they wait the entire day with no certainty of getting fuel.
This is what we see every day, and I have to bring my children to school here every day, and this is what happens.
Less than a month before voting day, and frustrations are growing across the country, especially since the annual inflation rose over 21% at the turn of the year.
Okay, so obviously the court made a good decision because we're looking at 2 days from now. Today is the 8th. They had a deadline of Friday the 10th, which obviously is too soon because they don't even have enough cash rolled out for the entire country to be able to, for it to be an easy rollout for the citizens. Hey, Rashad G9, do me a favor. Can you give me a syllable breakdown of how your name is pronounced? I know the first part is Rush, but how do I pronounce the other part? So just separate it with a hyphen so I can get the pronunciation right. You're definitely one of my my day ones. I don't want in the future, as the channel begin to grow and other people here are in the chat, that I'm mispronouncing your name. So do me a favor and do that. Much appreciated. Obviously, what's going on in Nigeria right now is a major issue. And the government is definitely trying to deal with that. And the court is stepping in, obviously, to protect the citizens in being able to, I guess, make it a soft landing, make that situation a lot more palatable and not too much destruction with regard to the overall country. Those things could create riots. You know, when people can't get to their money, that's a problem. When you have, okay, Rashad, perfect, appreciate it, Rashad G9, got you. Okay, so BNN Bloomberg, they had a really good story breakdown on this. So I wanted to touch on this just briefly to give you more detail. The headline is the same. Nigeria's court blocks central bank's Naira note ban. This day says, this is Bloomberg, Nigeria's top court blocks the central bank from ending the use of the higher denominations Naira notes, a policy that has disrupted banking in Africa's biggest economy. The Supreme Court's ruling bars the central bank from halting the use of 200 and 500 and 1,000 notes from February 10th. The matter was adjourned until February 15th. That's it, going into next week. Hearing of a lawsuit brought by 3 state governors challenging the central bank's plan. We were successful in obtaining an interim injunction against the February 10th Central Bank of Nigeria deadline for use of the old notes until the determination of the substantive suit. Aisha Diko, Attorney General of the Kaduna state government in northern Nigeria, said on Wednesday, Nigeria's demonetization policy has divided the ruling All Progressive Congress with its presidential candidate Bola Ahmed Tinubu, arguing that the policy may undermine the party's chances in election later this month. Kaduna, Kogi, and Zamfara state governors, all of whom belong to the APC, said in court that their states are on the verge of anarchy because their residents can't obtain new notes after depositing old notes. And this is what I was hinting at, because obviously when they're trying to reduce circulation, you know, in terms of a currency swap, and they're reducing how much currency is actually circulating in the nation, they will be printing bigger notes or eliminating the smaller notes. And they said the 200, 500, and 1,000 notes. So obviously, whatever those bigger notes will be, or if there's one note that's going to kind of replace those 3 notes that's being pulled out of circulation, that's going to create issues because you need change in stores and businesses. There's a lot of street vendors that conduct business along the roadside. They have to have those currencies as well. And eliminating the old notes basically mean once the deadline passed, if you have those notes, they have no more value. So that could have deliberately affect people's bank accounts, people's cash flow, and that would create chaos in the country. And that could potentially flip Nigeria into, you know, potentially a revolution right before the election later this month. So that's problematic. So I think that was a definitely good call by the Supreme Court to give a little bit of time before so they can air that out. So whoever the central bank, the printers are able to actually print those notes and get it out there for the people. The next story I really want to get into is Zoom. Many major tech companies right now, they're looking to cut their overhead, trim the fat, as it might say. And Zoom has been doing very well overall from its business. However, like so many other companies, they're looking to trim the fat a bit, curtail spending, be able to save money that they have in-house, possibly to have cash flow available if they need to spend to do some share buybacks or anything of that nature. So let me just bring that up real quick. We'll touch base on the story. Okay. Okay, so big story. Zoom cuts 1,300 jobs as demand driven by the CV pandemic slows. Obviously, more and more people are getting out. Less people are using or having the use for Zoom to do various meetings, especially governments and officials. They were using Zoom for court hearings and different things, right? Now, more and more people are returning back into the flow of society. So court attendees will have to appear in court. Businesses have opened, so you can conduct business in the office, even though more and more individuals would like to have remote work as best as possible. So it says Zoom is the latest tech company to be hit by the mass layoffs, as 1,300 jobs are set to be cut. On Tuesday, the company said it was laying off nearly 15% of its workforce as demand for its video conferencing services slows with the waning of the pandemic. While announcing the layoff, Chief Executive Officer Eric Yuan said he would take a pay cut of 98% for the coming fiscal year and forego his bonus. So obviously, as a CEO, he's definitely leading from the front. He's going to, in a sense, he's saying that I'm going to take a little bit of pain. If I'm going to make a cut and a lot of people are going to be out of a job, 1,300 people. I mean, you have to understand, when 1,300 people gets laid off, the actual effect of that, it could be 1,300 separate households. And then per household can have 2 or more people. If you have one person in the home that is an income producer, that definitely creates a major situation in the home. So, in a gesture, I mean, obviously, he's a very wealthy man. So his lifestyle is not going to change. But just from a gesture point of view, taking a 98% pay cut for 1 year, foregoing his bonuses for 1 year, is symbolically a good gesture. At least, some people might see that as a good thing. We worked tirelessly, but we also made mistakes. We didn't take as much time as we should have to thoroughly analyze our team or assess if we were growing sustainably toward the highest priorities, said Yuan. And that's one of the things I think too, when times are good, when business is flowing and the money is coming in, it's very difficult, especially for upper management people, to make decisions, to take a more introspective look at where the growth is actually coming in from and where you may need to trim the fat in the event that some departments may not necessarily need to have that many people. It's kind of hard to cut employees when things are doing well. And this is where many companies sometimes suffer. And because of that, they tend to, when the need comes to cut, the cut is bigger than was necessary had they did the cut 6 months to 12 months ago, when they could have made a better evaluation and streamlined the business a lot better. The video conferencing software maker also said that its executive leadership team will reduce their base salary by 20% in the same period. So it's a management cut across the board, which is obviously going to affect employees as well. Okay, let me see if I can bring this video up a little bit on this commentary out of the UK.
Continuing unabated. Well, the pace of layoffs in the tech sector is continuing unabated. Well, the latest in the series is the e-commerce firm eBay, which has fired 500 employees globally, which represents 4% of its total workforce. Well, shares of the San Jose, California-based company rose about 1% in aftermarket trade, reacting to that news. eBay said the shift will give it an additional space to invest and create new roles in high potential areas. Another company, Zoom, which is facing slowdown, has laid off about. The pace of layoffs in the tech sector is continuing unabated. Well, its workforce. Zoom Chief Executive Officer Eric Yuan said he would take a pay cut himself of 98%.
Let me bring that back to the Zoom intro
Nearly
on the
15%
video.
of its work while announcing the layoffs,
Okay.
which will hit nearly 15% of its workforce. Zoom Chief Executive Officer Eric Yuan said he would take a pay cut himself of 98% for the coming fiscal year and forego his bonus. Well, Zoom had bumped up hiring during the pandemic to meet surging demand, but now joins US companies in reining in costs to brace for a potential recession. Layoffs have become common in the tech sector, where a raft of US companies from Goldman Sachs Group to Alphabet's Google have laid off thousands this year to ride out a demand downturn wrought by high inflation and rising interest rates.
Well, as you can see, many companies are, as you can say, trimming the fat. Cut that volume. Okay. And exit. Okay, as stated before, many companies right now are definitely trimming the fat. Many companies are looking to bring in resources, which is cash, so they can restructure, so they can be more streamlined, so they can be better, probably for the end of 2024, going into 2025. I think whether or not Biden is reelected or whether Donald Trump actually gets reelected in the 2024 election, that's a year ahead of us. Many companies are trying to reposition themselves so they can be strong. However, or whoever will be the president, but be in a stronger position. Hopefully, by 2024, we can see stronger growth in the economy, particularly for the United States and for China as well. The big news today is going to be it's going to be Disney. Disney is having a real big play in the market today. Disney is up strong. Their earnings came in extremely strong. A lot of people are pinning their hopes on the return of what's the name? Bob Iger, the former CEO, to come back in and restructure the company. Hopefully he can provide the leadership of where the real talented people can be making the decisions, as opposed to the woke department to be making the decisions as to how movies are produced, how shows are produced, and what will be the focus and the topic as it concerns the talent, as opposed to pushing some form of an agenda, right? So we'll see if he really has what it takes to make that happen. So it says earnings results. Walt Disney co-chief executive Bob Iger returns to the earnings stage Wednesday and delivered a big beat, largely thanks to improving financial results at Disney's theme park. But Disney subscribers declined more than expected. So they have to build on that because that's, let me bring that up. Basically, part of how they build their earnings was not so much by new subscribers, but they raised the cost of their Disney Plus services. It was incremental, but it was sufficient enough to bring the earnings in strong, beyond estimates as well. So let's just listen into a little bit of here what CNBC commentators are stating.
That grew 8% and beat top and bottom line. That better than expected performance driven by results of the parks division and smaller than anticipated losses in the direct to consumer streaming division. Take a look at shares now up about 3%. Now revenues of $23.5 billion, that grew 8% and beat expectations of revenue of $23.4 billion. Earnings coming in adjusted.
Now, if you see this green line, this spike right here, this is 4 p.m. Eastern Time, New York, market close. So this is aftermarket trading, right? Aftermarket trading, they're spiking. They're up $3.25. They're up plus 2.91%. So the stock is doing well, and it's probably going to open up big tomorrow in pre-market as well.
At 99 cents per share, beating estimates of 78 cents per share. Disney Plus subscribers nearly 1 million high.
Another thing on those earnings, 78 cents was the estimate, 99 cents are the numbers that came in. Those are good numbers percentage wise, right? You're looking at about what, 20 something percent, 21, 22%. That's a big percentage gain
Higher
right there.
than anticipated at almost 162 million, with that core Disney Plus subscriber base, that's excluding Hotstar, up 1%. Total direct-to-consumer subscribers also falling less than anticipated to about 235 million. Now, losses at the direct-to-consumer division of about $1 billion was less than anticipated and also down from losses of $1.5 billion in the year earlier quarter. Now, the key thing driving the results, revenues increased 21% at the parks, experiences, and products division, while operating income at the division increased 25%, with particular strength in higher volumes as well as increased guest spending at the domestic parks. CEO Bob Iger saying in his quote at the top of the press release here, quote, "We are embarking on a significant transformation. We believe," going on to say, "we believe the work we are doing to reshape our company around creativity while reducing expenses will lead to sustained growth and profitability for our streaming business, better position us." And then, of course, Scott, I have to say, he talked about improving profitability. I'm sure he's going to be asked about that restructuring and cost cutting on the earnings call, which starts at 4:30 Eastern.
You know what, Julia, really quick, because I see this other quote, and I want your opinion on it because you know this so well. We're working to reshape the company around creativity. To me, that sounds like a shot across the bow at Bob Chapek, that one of the things that Iger talked about when he came back was putting decision-making back in the control of the creative, the lifeblood, the heartbeat of this company. That, to me, is
Okay. And that right there, I think, one of the things in the way CEOs have to learn, have to speak, they have to kind of like speak in code, right? And they have to be able to send signals to investors, shareholders, bondholders, creditors, and obviously all the institutions that are holders of their stocks. But most importantly, they have to do it in such a sensitive manner to not offend the political PC spaces out there that obviously could have strong voices to affect his return back to the company, potentially creating protests and Twitter wars and things of this nature to push against whatever changes he plans to do in leadership. So when he basically says that he wants to put the decision-making back in the hands of the creators, the people with the creative skills and abilities, that's kind of a signal that he's trying to say, look, we've been on this woke mission for several years now. It's hurt the company. It's hurt revenues. The whole MCU has just been dusted, crushed. And so he's basically making a statement that we're no longer going to be on this woke agenda to push ideas. We're going to make good movies that make sense. And programs too, hopefully.
Is not lost at all on that statement.
Absolutely. And look, he had already taken steps to undo some of the restructuring that Bob Chapek did. Bob Chapek separating the creative decision making from the distribution decision making and having those be run separately. Iger already took steps to reintegrate those, and clearly here is talking about doing more to reintegrate those different parts of the business and try to make sure that they're profitable in all of their decision making as they do that. Of course, there's a lot of concern about the high costs around the direct-to-consumer Disney Plus streaming business, which we saw the costs are not quite as bad as anticipated. But yes, this is very clear. Bob Iger has made it clear from day one that he really wants to prioritize the creative content and those decision makers when it comes to figuring out where to put the films, where to put the TV shows, et cetera.
All right, we'll hear from you again. I know that. The call's at the bottom of the hour, and that's really where the action, folks, is going to be. As you hear from Bob Iger himself on his first conference call since returning, what sort of strategic maneuvers does he talk about? And then the big event tomorrow, an exclusive interview, 9 a.m. Eastern time on Squawk on the Street. Bob Iger and David Faber go one-on-one, and you do not want to miss that. I can promise you that. Let's bring in Disney shareholders now.
Well, definitely Squawk Box is a show that back in the day, my CEO used to appear on that show on more than one occasion. So I'm very familiar with Squawk Box. So tomorrow morning, I will be checking him out. One of the things in terms of when you're sitting on some of these conversations, you do get insights with regard to their longer term plan and their vision. And obviously, you have to understand the sophistication in the way in which they're speaking. But to be able to deconstruct some of those things, hopefully I'll be able to get some nuggets out of that. And maybe tomorrow I'll add that to my notes for tomorrow's show if he drops anything insightful.
Brenda Vingello of Sandhill Global Advisors, Patty Brennan of Key Financial. It's great to have you both with us. Brenda is a CNBC contributor. So your first reaction here, Brenda, the street's trying to figure out which way it wants to go, and it may not know until the call in some 20 minutes or so. But what do you think so far?
Fair enough, but I think if we look at the quarter, things were actually a little bit better than we thought they might be. One, we got confirmation that the last quarter, their fiscal Q4, was potentially the peak in loss for the streaming business, which is great news that things are moving in the right direction there. Secondarily, we got confirmation that they actually had more subscribers than anticipated, even in an environment where they raised price for the traditional product. We'd like to hear more about what the initial impact was from the ad-supported option being introduced. But I do think the conference call this time around is going to be really important. Everybody wants to hear from Bob Iger, hear about what his vision is for profitability of the company, and certainly about reinvigorating their creative vision. That we really own this stock because it's unmatched anywhere else, and think that ultimately Wall Street will reward the company for that over time.
Okay,
Disney
so
beating on the
as we
top
can
and bottom
see-
line, that better than expected performance driven by results of the parks division and smaller.
I'll stop the video there because this is going to go on for quite some time. But obviously, Bob Iger, he is the big name right now on Wall Street that everyone is looking at for leadership. Disney came in strong. Earnings week is usually, or the earnings period is usually a very tumultuous time on Wall Street. And companies get make or break on Wall Street when they do their earnings. So Disney came in real good. There's a big lineup of different companies that are going to be dropping earnings this week. I haven't started to plan that out yet, but I will be implementing that as the show develops more to give you guys heads up as to more than likely the day before, if it's on a Friday, so you guys have what's going to be coming up for the following week in terms of what's going to be the major numbers, earnings, CPI, unemployment numbers, and so forth. Just to kind of give you a better heads up as to what's going on in the market and how to be able to take advantage of it for those of you who are of the investment mind. Okay, it says here, I'm just going to go over Yahoo News a little bit to get a little bit more in detail. It says Disney's earnings were expected at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Wednesday, February 8th to 23rd. The CEO, Disney, Bob Iger, is set to take center stage on the earnings call. So that's going to be a call that's already in progress. That's today at 4, which has already happened. I'll probably check some of the reports on that later today, but there's going to be a Squawk Box interview tomorrow. And I think that's a sit-in. So I'm going to be able to sit down and really see what I can pick apart from that particular conversation as well. I did mention with regards to the leading story today, crypto. Crypto is doing extremely well under the pressure of the market overall. Because if we take a look at what's happening in the markets have really been, I wouldn't say unstable, but it's unpredictable. Every different day, one day the market is up strong, the next day the market is taking a beating. So it's very difficult for investors to know how to play the market, which way it's going. And this is where, in time past, I have really found my niche to be able to take advantage of different things in the market and help many of the clients that used to work with me. Right now, we have the Dow Jones down 207 points. S&P is down 46 points. NASDAQ is down 203 points. Gold is up. Gold is up $2.39 at $1,875.49. WTI crude, which is oil, is up at $78.48. WCS crude, that's up 77 cents at 59.08. And I believe I took notes earlier on Brent crude is, I'm not sure where it closed, but earlier it was trading around $84. One of the things I think you want to keep an eye out as if the market continues to be under pressure and unemployment inflation begins to take a rise again, and unemployment lags in any way, you could see potentially oil goes up very big. And when oil goes up, most investors will move cash into precious metals, whether it be precious metals and petroleum. So oil is going to go up, and gold is going to go up, silver is going to go up. So these are things where big investors use to cover their butts to basically preserve capital, because when things get unpredictable, they go with things that have been historically solid investments to be able to protect your capital. So whenever the market shakes out, you'll be in a better position cash-wise. Okay, so let's get to the big story of the day. Let's see here. Turkey. As you guys may or may not know, there was I think a 7.7 earthquake in Turkey 2 days ago. This is Wednesday, so Monday evening or Monday afternoon. Can you guys see the screen fine? Okay, cool. Okay, so the big news basically is that Turkey is going through a lot right now. We're looking at about 11,000 between Turkey and Syria, about 11,000 people they have declared who have passed away, who are no longer with us because of this earthquake. It's very serious. The president has stepped in and declared a state of emergency in the country. It's probably going to last for at least several months, 2 to 3 months. There are different aids trying to come in. And the cryptocurrency people, they stepped in and they created a conversation on Twitter, and they were looking to get funds raised for the earthquake victims and to be able to deliver cash that the company will need to assist in the aid. And I think the government really stepped in. Turkish watchdog stretches rules and allowed crypto wallets to collect aid. That was a major move. It says a Turkey singer convinced the country's watchdog to allow 3 wallets to collect funds, even though the act isn't currently legal in Turkey. So one of the things I think you may want to keep an eye on, in times of crisis, major changes can take place. People bend the rules. Countries and leaders bend the rules to alleviate the pressure that is created by such crisis, whether it's in the United States, whether it's in Europe, and obviously in the Far East and the Middle East. So let me go into a little bit about this story, give you guys some breakdown. It says Turkish singer known as his charitable personality, Haluk Levent, reached out to the country's financial watchdog, Masak, and convinced them to allow collecting crypto donations to help with the earthquake relief. Stretching rules, Turkish crypto Twitter has been calling out to crypto influencers who were transferring the message to the Turkish government asking for a crypto wallet for donations. Opening a crypto wallet to collect donations is not currently legal in the country. Knowing this, Levent reached out to his fans based on and used a Twitter poll to ask if he should try opening a crypto wallet registered in his name to collect donations. After most voters supported this idea, Levent reached out to Masak to ask for permission. 10 hours later, the watchdog said it allowed 3 wallets to actively collect donations for a week. At the time of writing, the wallets have been active for 6 hours and collected over $2 million, which equates to 37 billion Turkish lira. Now, obviously, the inflationary dollars in exchange between the US dollar and the Turkish lira is extensive, right? Many countries are dealing with serious inflation and upside down in terms of their currency exchange. For 2 million to exchange into 37 billion, that's significant. And obviously that can add a lot to the relief of survivors. Those who are still struggling, need medical care, may need water, may need access to food, may need hospital care, and so forth. Things like that, they need to be able to be done where there's no cost to those who are in suffering, okay? Levent said he would facilitate the liquidity process and transfer them to AHBAP, an NGO helping with the disaster relief. I'm not familiar with AHBAP, but I'm sure it's an agency that is from the Middle East or possibly Turkish base itself. The crypto community unites. Turkish crypto influencers, Steve the Bitcoin said he and Bitfinex and CTO Paolo Adrino is facilitating a joint effort between the Steve Group, Bitfinex, and Tether USDT to help people who were affected by the quakes. And there were several quakes. There were aftershocks. Matter of fact, I think one of the aftershocks were even greater than the initial earthquake itself, which is what's really creating a big issue in the country, because in any country where there's earthquake, there's always some type of tremors and aftershocks that taking place. I myself have gone through several since I've been in this country as well. Hours after this, Bitfinex and Tether announced that they were donating 5 million Turkish lira, that's $265,508, to help with the disaster. A portion of this amount will be sent to the regions affected by the earthquake, while the rest will be saved to aid the rebuilding phase. The news also caught the attention of leading crypto exchange Binance and its CEO, Changpeng Zhou, CZ is commonly known. On February 6th, that was 2 days ago, CZ said the Binance team has been working on a project to help Turkey. We are truly saddened by the earthquake in Turkey. Our team has been working on a solution to help the people. There are quite a few details. I have had 4 meetings on it today, more details to come. Stay strong. One big announcement I think was pretty good. He says hours later, Binance announced that it will airdrop $100 worth of BNB to the residents of the cities struck by the earthquake. The total amount is expected to reach a little below $5 million. So they're basically airdropping $5 million to individual residents in the areas that are affected. So crypto is actually becoming an emergency use tool to move money, I would say almost at lightning speed, at the drop of a hat. And I think with these type of events that takes place, it creates opportunity for not only governments, but regulators and banks and technology to be able to move swiftly to aid those who are in need. And quite frankly, I think as the summer goes on and AI becomes more implemented throughout our society, Google also stated that they're using AI in their search. So be mindful of what you search for, because the AI will give you what you search for, and the algorithm will start picking up on that and start referring things to you pretty much like it does in the algorithm on YouTube. So if you search for undesirable subjects or topics, be mindful of that. But there are some benefits with regard to how technology moves. And I think as we go forward, some of the benefits could be extremely beneficial. I just hope that politicians don't get in the way, because politicians move much slower than technology, excuse me, and they could potentially thwart the benefits of change that our society is really getting ready to birth. I always want to try at every show to leave you guys with a potential recommendation, something that I'm keeping my eye on that could benefit you if you're looking to invest, whether now or if it's in your watch list to pull the trigger at some point. So American Express is my topic for today. The symbol is AXP, American Express. So you may put that in your portfolio if you don't hold it already, or you may just want to put it in your watch list to find the right point where you may want to go in and add it to your portfolio. But you definitely need to diversify, and having good blue chip financial stocks is helpful, or credit stocks, you might say. And with that, I'm going to be closing down the show for today. Look forward for tomorrow. I'm not sure what our topic is going to be yet. There's a lot happening in the news. So I'm going to try to find the most exciting stories to focus on, to bring it to you, and to educate you as to opportunities that may lie. We talk about a lot of things when we talk about passive income, but one of the best form of passive income is investments. And investments, the beautiful thing about investment is that it's making money when you sleep. It's making money when you're working. It's making money when you're sick, and it's making money when you're on vacation. Even when you're on vacation spending money, if you have a portfolio of good investments, they're going to be replacing that money in exponentially, so you don't even have to worry day by day. And so what I'm trying to do is bring good investment ideas and opportunities to my audience and my subscribers, so you guys could be ahead of the game to be able to make good investment decision. And with that, this is Sage Talking Business, ending another show. Look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. Have a great day. Let's see, that is Rashad. Okay, and the broadcast, yes.